What's going on, everybody? This is John J Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the FCS Dynasty here on NCAA 2006, featuring that next mod as well, as we got 8 great games on tap here today. Should be a great episode as we get into week number 3, so make sure you go ahead, smack that like button, hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. And we will kick things off here right away, not even wasting any time, as we got Nicholls State taking on Eastern Kentucky, the number 12 team in college football. And early on, Eastern Kentucky, they are proving their national ranking is merited. They are actually going to intercept the junior quarterback, Frederick McNair. And that is just too easy of an interception. Now, luckily for them, Eastern Kentucky did end up going 3 and out. And now we'll see this Nicholls State offense come back out onto the field as Deuce Randolph tries to take the carry up the middle, but he's going to get absolutely lit up like a Christmas tree. And early on, Eastern Kentucky thought that they had this option attack taken care of, but the biggest thing about going up against option offenses, you got to be able to make tackles in the open field. Those TFLs are going to be particularly crucial in this matchup. And while they got Fred McNair early, just a missed tackle in the open field is going to lead to nearly a touchdown to happen right there. They did not quite score, but they are really darn close. And in the start of the second quarter, the junior quarterback, Frederick McNair, he is going to punch it in the end zone for the first touchdown of this episode. And we got ourselves a 7-0 lead. But Eastern Kentucky, they know a thing or two about also running an option attack. They actually go to their fullback. Hey, Mr. Carter, where have you been? If you know, you know. But that is going to be a 50-yard rush right up the heart of the Colonel defense. You absolutely love to see it here in this little Colonel Bowl that we got going on here. And Eastern Kentucky now in the red zone, as they will get it up to their tailback, who's going to fumble the football here. And now it's going to be a scramble upfield. Is it going to be a scoop and score? No, it's not. But at the same time, though, how about the incredible fumble recovery? And the Colonels are able to get off the field without even allowing a single point to be scored. You absolutely love to see it. And the Colonels will go ahead and punch it in. Second rushing touchdown of the afternoon for Nicholls State. And they are going to take a 14-0 lead, get into the last couple of minutes of this first half. Now, later on in the first half, we get to, after an Eastern Kentucky 3 and out, Frederick comes back onto the field. He has struggled this year, only 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions. We'll see if he can turn it around, and this will certainly help, as we got the custom Speedy Woods down the sideline, and he is going to be gone like a girl in a country song. Touchdown, Nicholls State. As Frederick McNair, he got just enough time in the pocket. He was able to find his number 1 wide receiver. And that rest is going to be history. A dominating performance here for Nicholls State early on. And it's going to continue into the second half as we got Deuce Randolph down the sideline. He does end up eventually being chopped down eventually. But how about Deuce Randolph just refusing to go down? At least not without a fight. So now, 3rd and long, trying to get more points on the board. Frederick looking for the end zone. And while he does not completely get there, how about this big-time throw? Got Deuce Randolph on a linebacker. That's going to be barbecue chicken 9 times out of 10. And they will end up finishing this drive, choosing to pitch it out. Surprised that they didn't call that a fumble on the field, but feel like that would not have been much of a difference either way. So Frederick McNair, he is going to have 4 total touchdowns in this game. It's been an absolutely phenomenal performance for the junior quarterback. And Eastern Kentucky, they are definitely getting a little slice of humble pie here in this football game, as not only are they struggling to get points on the board, but they are also struggling to keep their hands on the football in general. They turn the football over for the second time today, and that gives Nicholls State another opportunity to put more points onto the board, as this time Frederick McNair is going to get it out to the fullback, and we will get a little bit of love from fullback you, baby, as Nicholls State gets another touchdown on the board, and it will end up being an absolutely convincing win for the Colonels here at home, as a blowout Eastern Kentucky by a final score of 35-14. EKU did a couple of garbage time scores. So we do see one upset already in this episode. We'll see if we can get an additional upset here, as we are now going to go ahead and check in on South Carolina State. They are back at home, and they will be playing host to none other than the Salukis of Southern Illinois. They are ranked towards the bottom in the NCAA national rankings, but we have seen South Carolina State vulnerable thus far. We'll see if that continues here, as Southern Illinois, you never know what could happen, like I said in the past, any given Saturday. But we will see South Carolina State get on the board first, as Carlos McDougal, he's going to hand it off to Jason Shaw. That will give them a 7-0 lead. But then James Blank, he's going to break one, and he's going to run away from the South Carolina State defense. Do we have a certified bad man? I think we might. And all of a sudden, guys, we got ourselves a football game. Like I said, that's why these games are not decided on paper, as James Blank found the hole and picked up a huge gain. And that does keep Southern Illinois in the game early, but their quarterback trying to do the exact opposite, as he's going to throw this up into triple coverage, and it does end up being eventually intercepted by Johnson, and Johnson's going to get himself a pick six right there. That's going to be a touchdown for South Carolina State, as it does also look like the strong safety Quan Hutch, one of your guys' customs, did end up tipping this football away. So we'll see if Southern Illinois can do a little bit better of a job of taking care of this football. But Brandon Hill is going to line things up. They are a very complete defense. Their defensive prowess has never been an issue. It's just that consistency on the offensive side of the football. That's really what has held this program back over the course of this series. We'll see if that does end up getting addressed. But that being said, we're going to see Jason Shaw. He's already got a touchdown in this football game. How about we go back to back like a Drake song, because that's going to be a touchdown number 2 for the junior running back Jason Shaw. And it's going to make it a 21-7 lead. Very good performance so far for South Carolina State, as that is going to continue here, as Carlos McDougal, he's going to throw it up, and he will get into the action in terms of those scoring plays. First passing touchdown of the game for the junior quarterback as well. Lots of juniors on the South Carolina State squad that is starting. And speaking of starters, McDougal trying to throw it up once again, but this time it's going to be intercepted. Southern Illinois going to hold up for now, but after a 3 and out, they do provide a chance for Jason Shaw to dive into the end zone, and that is exactly what we are going to get here. A 35-7 lead that the Bulldogs are going to take before even going into the halftime locker room. And unfortunately, that second half doesn't seem like it's going to get much better. Second turnover of the day by the South Carolina State secondary, as that was just a case of telepathing his throw. And now South Carolina State can strike again. 2nd and 11, going back on the ground with Jason Shaw. He breaks a tackle. He's down the sideline. He breaks another tackle. He trucks through 2 separate defenders. Make that touchdown. Hang on. Number 4? No, sir. Number 5 in this game. Jason Shaw has been absolutely unstoppable, and his day is not going to even be done yet, as he's going to take yet another kick return. If he brings it back, no flags. This is touchdown number 6, and that is exactly what we are going to see. You know, Southern Illinois, I thought they were going to make things a little bit interesting, but that just didn't happen here today. We did not get that here in this ball game, A matter of fact, South Carolina State puts up 84 on the Salukis. It's going to be a 70-point victory for the Bulldogs here in their home opener. So we take a chance after we get through those first couple of games to go ahead and take a look at some other scores on the noon kickoff window. And we start with Central Michigan, who recently entered the AP Top 25. They end up they win against Arkansas State in a nail-biter, winning 23-20 in order to move up to 2-0 here on this young season. Meanwhile, we do also end up seeing Western Kentucky not only beat Ball State, but they were able to blow out Ball State as well. Western Kentucky does improve to 2-0 on the season after this 31-point win over the Ball State Cardinals. Kent State, meanwhile, looking to retain their status as a national powerhouse, and their Season 4 campaign started against Alcorn State on the road. The Braves simply did not have enough, losing 42-10 against the number 11 ranked team in the nation. But one team that was on the verge of being blown out was the Akron Zips. Akron, they were very close to losing this game. 31-27 ends up being the final score, but the Penn Quakers, they almost played spoiler in a massive way. The Akron Zips will survive, though, as they will advance to 3-0 on the season. So we progress through the afternoon as we will go ahead and see Delaware State take on yet another tough opponent in what has been a devastating non-conference state for the Delaware State Hornets. They now face yet another top 25 team in Sacramento State, playing in their opening game, coming in also ranked inside the top 15, number 13 in the country. So we'll see how Delaware State handles this game. They have been through a lot already this season as they get off to a good start here, able to intercept Carlos Hall as Brian Mills is able to get the interception. And that's a big time play for Delaware State. If you're going to pull an upset of this magnitude, you got to start out like that. Now, we'll see if Delaware State can punch it into the end zone here as they go to the tailback on the ground, and not really a lot to work with there. These Sacramento State kids, they certainly can hit extremely hard, but they do eventually get into a goal line opportunity. They get it out to Victor Reyes, who throws the football and gets into the end zone. And Delaware State, this is the start that they were looking for. And, you know, if you're going to pull an upset, that's how you got to do it. We'll see if they can maintain that level of play throughout 4 quarters. As Reyes drops back the pass over the middle once again, but we do see Anthony Suber with his 3rd career interception of his collegiate career. He's going to be able to go ahead and, you know, get that interception, slow down Delaware State a little bit, but they got to get this offense going, though. It's been a rough start for them. This is one way that you can get it done, though, as we will see Corey Hall drop it right in the bucket. And while it's not a touchdown, it does make it a goal line situation. Gonna be inside the 5-yard line. And that was just a good give and go, as that is just able to throw it to a spot where only his guy can make a play. And now a chance to tie this football game. And sure enough, we are going to get it. We are now all knotted up here in Sacramento, here in California's state capital. All knotted up at 10 apiece. Then we move on into the second half now. They will get a 3 and out as well. And Sacramento State will receive the punt. Taking it down the sideline. There's no flags on the play. This is going to be a touchdown. And that will be the first lead that Sacramento State gets to enjoy today. They have successfully rallied back. 2nd and down at the 48. Corey Hill with a chance to go ahead and, you know, potentially go about extending this lead a little bit. Takes a disgusting sack there. And now 3rd and 6, trying to remain on schedule, and Delaware State gets the sack again. Another sack as Delaware State refuses to go down. They don't care what their national ranking is. They're here to play a football game, and they're certainly hanging in there and playing tough. As now Delaware State with a chance to tie this football game up. He gets a broken tackle down the sideline. No one left to taste him, not even Espinoza. And he's going to even high step his way. We got a tie ball game now, 17 apiece here. This next quarter going to matter a lot. And Corey Hall starts to deliver in the late stages of this football game. Finds the tight end. And that's going to be a 67-yard touchdown, just a couple yards shy of being extremely nice, if I say so myself. But how about this? Corey Hall facing an all-out blitz, saw the matchup that he was looking for, and his tight end was able to execute to perfection. And Sacramento State looking like they will probably run away from this game, and that turnover should solidify that final score that you see on top of your screen. Sacramento State, man, they were certainly given a scare in this football game, but that Dickerson interception does seal the deal, so Sacramento State will win. But Delaware State at the same time, a football team that is getting a little bit better. Yes, they're 0-3, but they played against two top 25 teams in the FCS, as well as an entire FBS team that we saw. This was recorded last night when the college football playoff rankings were announced. Penn State also in there in the top 15 in the college football rankings, and Delaware State played against them and were competitive too. So we'll have to see how Delaware State does throughout the season. But now we check in on James Madison. They go on the road for the very first game of the season, and they will take on a hungry but underdog mentality Arkansas Pine-Bluff. As the Golden Lions are off to a solid start to the season. They are 1-0 thus far, but definitely have their work cut out for them. Can they slow down Stephen Rogers and one of the most explosive offenses in college football? We'll see what they got as we go into the second quarter. Still no score in this game, but we get our first big highlight in this one, though, as Shady McGrady gonna get already his second interception of the season thus far. Big time play. That's how you can win this football game as an underdog. Now, they can't do much of anything on offense on that drive, so still no score, but it happens again. Stephen Rogers gets intercepted a second time. 2 possessions in the row. I am not joking you right now. Stephen Rogers maybe feeling the heat, feeling a little bit of the pressure with the expectations that James Madison has to face. But either way, Niall Matthews, he's going to hand it off to his main squeeze, Doug Rose, the junior custom, who breaks the goose saying off the scoreboard. Touchdown, Golden Lions. And just following his blocks downfield, even hurdling over a defender, it's a 7-0 lead. So we'll see if Stephen Rogers can calm himself down, but he can't. He does not calm himself down. The exact opposite. He throws yet another interception. You cannot be kidding me right now. Wow. Another turnover for Arkansas Pine-Bluff, as even though they aren't fully taking advantage of those turnovers, their defense is playing absolutely out of their mind. And how about this? Out of body moment there. We got a pick 6 on the football field as Arkansas Pine-Bluff is flustering Stephen Rogers right now. His 4th interception that he has thrown, and get this, the first half of this game. Insane work by the Golden Lions secondary, as now they will go to Jody Gentry, the junior custom himself. Fine, we'll get some things under control, but man, James Madison might be in a little bit of trouble now. We've already seen one top 25 team lose in this episode. In the gameplay alone, that's not even counting the simulated matchups happening throughout the league. Is James Madison also in danger? 14 seconds left here in the first half. Rogers under center, dropping back. He's looking. He's got a little bit of time to work with. Throws it away at the last second, but it's going to be intercepted by Jacob Brightman, and that almost was taken all the way back to the crib as well. yes, count it, 5 turnovers in the first half for Stephen Rogers. I'm actually shocked that they are not benching him, or at least we haven't seen it yet. But we are starting to see Arkansas Pine-Bluff pull away in this game. They were able to get the field goal off of that interception, and then they also got the ball to start the second half, so they are able to move the ball down the field pretty well. This is their backup tailback finding some work at the goal line. Their power back makes it 27-7, and it's just getting worse. Stephen Rogers, another interception. That's going to be interception number 6 in this game. Interception number 6. You heard that correctly. The fact that he's still in the game and that Coach Montano refuses to bench him, I have no idea what's going on. But Arkansas Pine-Bluff, beautiful position to go ahead and make sure that they can secure the dub, as Matthews looks to the left-hand side, looking for Doug Rose in the back of the end zone, but he was double covered as well. And I don't know why they're celebrating. Their quarterback just threw an interception. Like, what are they doing? Are they high on that weed? I have no idea what's going on, but Matthews had all the time in the world. He had a chance to even dump it off. Must have not seen that safety there. I'm not sure what happened, but we still see James Madison down by 20 as the Dukes trying to get back into this game. And someone that we haven't seen very much, Marcus Bryant. He took over for BJ Bowers after his graduation from James Madison this past offseason. We'll see if they ride him a little bit more, even though because the last few minutes of this game is we will end up seeing Stephen Rogers get another touchdown here. Kevin Crum is going to get the reception there, but it's just a little too late as Arkansas Pine-Bluff is going to pull the shocking upset. They beat the number 3 team in America 30-14. So this was a convincing win for Arkansas Pine-Bluff in a game that could very well see them get into the top 25. Yes, they were ranked outside the top 40, but when you beat a top 5 team this convincingly, it's sure going to turn some heads, and I'm really curious to see what the AP poll does with Arkansas Pine-Bluff at the end of this episode. So we now check in for our second score update of this episode, and we got some interesting scores throughout the FCS. How about Norfolk State potentially being on the rise after an opening loss to North Dakota State? They win 2 games in a row with a 35-point win against Harvard. They're looking pretty good early on in the season. Speaking of looking pretty good in the season, North Carolina A&T State, they get their first win of the season. Their home opener against the Hampton Pirates goes according to plan, winning by 31 points as Hampton's going to drop their first game here in year number 4. That being said, it's not all roses for various FCS teams as Idaho actually gets upset at the vaunted Kibbe Dome. The Idaho Vandals dropped their first game of the season, losing to Northern Arizona by a final score of 26-19. And finally, to wrap up the afternoon game slates, we got Texas Southern hosting Southern Missouri State, and Texas Southern, they do take care of business in non-conference play. They win by a final score of 35-14 to improve to 2-0 on the young season. But as the sun sets, we continue to see multiple top 25 teams in action, including the Montana Grizzlies, who are also coming off of an upset loss of their own last episode. We see them lose to Sanford here at this exact home stadium. Can they right the ship, or will we see Coach Kirby of the Rhode Island Rams get his first win as the head coach of Rhode Island? Well, we are going to go ahead and find out as we start by checking in on Jamison Skinner, who drops back the pass, throws to the right-hand side, and throws it right on the money. And it's going to be caught for a first down. Look at that throw. You absolutely love to see it. And it provides a red zone opportunity where Braylon Hurst is going to take care of business. And the opening drive touchdown is going to be scored here. Montana going to take that 7-0 lead and that's why Braylon Hurst able to hold back the #1 recruit in college in high school football last year. Mario Matthews, he still got his starting job, as we do see Mario Matthews lay down a block there in the passing protection, but that ball was thrown towards Braylon Hurst, and it's going to get interception. Jalen Skinner threw it up, and Jameson Skinner could not do anything about it, unfortunately. One-on-one matchup. You're taking that every single time, but going back to Hurst on the ground, though, he's able to make a couple of guys miss, and now it's a foot race down the sideline. He's going to be able to run it all the way into the end zone. Touchdown, Montana, and that's going to be a 80-yard touchdown run. You absolutely love to see it. Braylon Hurst, by the way, already with over 100 yards rushing in this ball game. The Montana crowd going absolutely insane at the moment, and it's a 14-0 lead. We'll see if Rhode Island can get itself going a little bit. They do go with a little bit of an option here, and the option actually works pretty well, as Caleb Davis is able to, find some space to work on the outside, gets it to across the 40-yard line. But there is going to be some growing pains here for Rhode Island. First year under Coach Kirby's system, and Davis is going to put that football on the ground. It does end up being recovered, and Montana is going to get the football inside the 40-yard line, as he was just under absolute duress the entire time. And now Montana with a chance to put points on the board. Third and Longville throws it over the middle of the field. It's going to end up being caught. It's going to go for a first down. Another red zone opportunity for the Montana Grizzlies, as Jameson Skinner, he was able to look right down the middle of the field. But can they get points on board? 4th and 19. Skinner looks left, but it's going to be fumbled, and it's going to be recovered by Rhode Island. Now, that being said, regardless of what happened on that play, Rhode Island was going to take over on downs, but, the fumble, makes it look a little bit better in the official turnover battle count, but Rhode Island cannot take advantage. And we'll see Montana out on the field once again with their offense, as their offensive line is going to give up a sack here. And that's got to go towards the coverage. Nowhere for Jameson Skinner to go with that football. And now a 3rd and long once again. The last time didn't go so well. Skinner is going to throw to his right, though. Throws it up, and it's going to be caught. Touchdown, Montana. And with 12 seconds left to play here in the first half of action, Jameson Skinner just gave his guys a 21-0 lead. That's going to be the second touchdown of the day for the freshman quarterback. As now Caleb Davis trying to respond. His team down by 3 scores. Tries to throw it up into coverage, but Henry Wells, one of those talented freshmen that we've seen come in over the offseason, the true freshman, does get his first interception of his college career, and this is why you do not throw across the field when you going up against this defense in particular. Henry Wells, the true freshman, making him pay for it. We'll see if another true freshman can help lead some points downfield, as Braylon Hurst is actually going to take a shot here, as he does get a short gain, but does get lit up like a Christmas tree. That was only a 2-yard gain on the play, as they go back to Hurst on the ground, who sidesteps to the outside and runs it into the end zone. Touchdown, Montana. That makes it 28-0. That will indeed be your score, as Montana Grizzlies continue to dominate. Was even going to add one more score before the end of the third quarter. Skinner looking to the left-hand side, but it's going to be intercepted. Is it going to be brought back to the crim? Yes, sir. And that is how Rhode Island gets their first points of the ball game up on the board. And so they avoid the complete disaster. Rhode Island going to continue to fight through this game, even though they might be desperately outmatched and outmanned. And being outmatched, it's never a good look when the fullback of all people, that is Johan Rumanage, that is also a true freshman as well. He's going to find the end zone in this game, and Montana they play significantly better. They win this game by a score of 35-7. They do get that monkey off of their back at the very least. But it just also shows that Rhode Island's going to have a lot of work to do. We'll see if Coach Kirby can go ahead and turn it around here. But they were dominated in all facets of the game. They were outpassed, outrushed. They were 1 for 9 on third down conversions. It's going to be a long rebuild here if Rhode Island ever makes the FCS playoffs. But we'll go ahead now and see another top 25 team going to work. And that is Portland State. Now, Portland State, they were one of those teams that was pretty close to making it to the FCS playoffs. They were trying to make a pretty late push, but unfortunately, that was no cigars. So we'll see if this is the year that Portland State can finally break their way into the FCS playoffs for the first time in this series. They got a new quarterback. That quarterback, Chase Pierre, he is a JUCO transfer and actually supplements Kyle Hardy for that starting quarterback job. And you can see why. Just making good decisions downfield, gets it out to the sophomore custom Ryan Otis. And Ryan Otis is going to take it all the way to the crib. A 59-yard touchdown pass. Now we'll see Portland State take the lead here early. 7-0 is going to be your score here. But how about the blocking by the Portland State receiving core? Able to create some blocks and just going to run it away into the end zone. So South Dakota finds itself down 7-0 early. And it's not going to get much better on the offensive side of football. Portland State, they're going to be able to sack this quarterback. A blindside sack. Just hardly saw him coming. So now Jacob Kane is going to have to punt this football away. And he's already pretty busy on the year. That's now his 7th punt that we're looking at right now. And that's going to be a little bit more of Ryan Otis action, as Otis is going to take it down the sideline. It's going to be yet another touchdown for the Portland State Vikings. Make that 14-0 your score. And Chase Pierre going to find a groove. And you know who else is finding a groove? The tank. The Sherman tank. Chase Sherman down the sideline. He's going to get it across the 30-yard line. Look at his blocking downfield. Portland State, they are just dominating at the line of scrimmage. And we're seeing that play out here on the scoreboard as well. But third and long, though, we're going to have to pass this football. Pierre, he's got all the time in the world. Can make himself a sandwich if he wants to. And he used that sandwich time to find Charles Sherman for another red zone shot. We'll see if they hand it off to the running back. Reward him for that big catch. And he does. Touchdown, Portland State. That is now going to make it a 21-0 affair. The Portland State Vikings certainly looking like a top 25 team early on. But now, 2 minutes left here in the first half. South Dakota trying to get some resemblance of an offense going, but unfortunately, you know, this is how it's been for South Dakota in this series. They have really been riding that struggle bus, and it's already been a rough time here in the first half, but all things being considered, it's not going to get better because 1 minute left to play in the first half. They're actually going for it here on fourth down. You love the aggression. Pierre's going to throw it up, and it's going to be caught. That was double coverage. The coverage could not have even been better. I don't know how you could defend this football, you know, any different way, but, you know, there's just no defense for the perfect throw, and I think we just saw that happen right in front of our eyes. So 28-0 lead here for the Portland State Vikings. As South Dakota, they're actually going to try to get downfield a little bit more, and they do get set up in a pretty good spot. Lonzo Scott is going to get them at least in Portland State territory. Now, this did happen one more time off screen, but it didn't lead to any points. So, you know, I'm not going to show anything that's not all that exciting, right? But we'll see if Alonzo Scott can lead a scoring drive, but it doesn't happen. Taylor Rogers going to get his first interception of the season in their first game of the year. And a chance for South Dakota to kind of cut into this lead a little bit. It don't happen. So 34-0 ends up being the game. And you want to talk about a perfect representation for how South Dakota played in that game. That play right there, when you can't even execute a option properly, it's going to be a really long day for you, and it certainly was. Portland State, they end up winning convincingly here in their first game of the season, winning by a final score of 51-14. So now we check in on another team in that Pac-10, Pac-12 kind of conference. We now go ahead and check in on the number 4 team in the land, the North Dakota State Bison. And they will be taking on the Denver Pioneers in this non-conference matchup. But I'll tell you what, North Dakota State's got a lot to prove. I mean, Jason Purcell did not look good. The offense only managed to scrape up like 16 points against Norfolk State back in week number 1. And jumping midway into the second quarter, because really nothing too crazy happens, at least till this moment right here when we get a fumble on the field. And North Dakota State, they actually do end up recovering. So there is an actual scenario where we would see North Dakota State trailing in this game against the Denver Pioneers, but we still don't have a score here in the first half. And the problem is, I don't know if it's the scheme or what's necessarily going on, because at least in the regular season in the past, North Dakota State, they have dominated. They have really dominated their opponents, but we haven't really seen that here in the first couple of weeks in the season. Matter of fact, Denver might got that turnover, not only that turnover bug going, but they also got that upset alert going as they get another turnover against North Dakota State. And now they had a chance to go ahead and make something happen, but unfortunately it does lead to a 3 and out, and the Denver punter, he's going to make a really big mistake here. He's going to punt this football back to Ken Anderson, the superstar running back who you saw on the week 1 thumbnail. And this is why you get thumbnail moments, when you can make plays like that. Ken Anderson finally gets that goose egg off of the scoreboard. It's going to be a touchdown for North Dakota State. So they will take a 7-0 lead, and eventually they do find a little bit of a rhythm. Another rhythm, matter of fact, that they get another red zone opportunity. And Jason Purcell is actually going to run his way into the end zone, but I mean, that's still the problem right there. You got this quarterback right here running an option. You saw with speed right there. He's not an option quarterback, not even close. So North Dakota State, they still win this game. And, the positive thing about winning games like this, where, you're not playing at your best necessarily, you buy yourself another week to figure things out. The last thing that you want to do is, hey, maybe you figure things out late in the season, but you already have 4-5 losses, and that effectively takes you out of FCS playoff contention, historically speaking. But North Dakota State definitely has to figure things out, because once they play some of these better teams in the conference, this type of stuff is not going to fly. We'll see if they can figure things out. So for the final game of this episode, that I got to save the very best for last. We got the game of the week. We got number 5, Western Carolina, going on the road, and they will be taking on the number 15 ranked SMU Mustangs. And this could be a big game for Western Carolina as they continue to really build a great program in spite of the NCAA sanctions. Michael Young, he's looked good so far this year. In his opener, he had 4 touchdowns versus just the 1 interception thrown. And Lee Corso going to be rocking with Western Carolina as well, as Young is going to throw it up, but it's going to be caught. It's actually going to be caught, and that just shows you, hey, maybe sometimes it's a little bit better to be lucky than it is to be good. And now a goal line opportunity for the Catamounts, getting it out into the fullback as that Catamount offensive line, they were able to get more than enough push to get it into the end zone, and that is a touchdown for Western Carolina. Is now down 7-0 early, and they're going to fluster Jesse Young here as well. That's the other key to this game, and that's a sneaky matchup to watch out for. Michael Young of Western Carolina versus Jesse Young. Who is going to have a better game today? That's what we're going to find out. But getting turnovers like that certainly helps you, as we almost see another touchdown thrown for Michael Young. But at the last second, the safety comes in, he intervenes, and it's going to be deflected away harmlessly. We'll see if they attack the secondary once again, as SMU, they send everybody and their mama, but it's not going to be enough as Michael Young throws it on the money You cannot zero this man. As Young, he hung tough in the pocket. He knew he was going to be hit as soon as he threw that football. But hey, you got to give him credit. He made a play. And that's exactly what we saw right there. Now, SMU, can they rally back in their home stadium? We saw that they had one of the toughest stadiums played in the country, that number 23 ranking. But if you want to keep this crowd involved, you got to be able to find ways to score. We'll see if that happens. But they actually do stall out after that really big play. 4th and 18 from the 41-yard line. They got no choice but to go ahead and punt this football away. We go out a fair catch, but somebody muffs it. It's fumbled, and SMU almost walks it into the end zone. So a goal line situation. Can SMU capitalize? Jesse looking over the middle of the field, but it's going to be intercepted. Not only is it going to be intercepted, it's going to be taken all the way to the crib. Touchdown, Western Carolina. And that is going to be a 100-yard touchdown return. McClellan taking the air out of this stadium completely. I mean, what was Jesse Young looking at? I mean, we got to be honest with ourselves. That was really just a genuinely terrible decision to make. As now we see Western Carolina with a free touchdown lead. They're looking to dominate SMU as Young is going to take a sack in the backfield. This was a long loss here as well. This is a loss of 8. So we're talking 3rd and 18 coming up. That was a covered sack. Nobody really opened down the field. So a lot of work to do as now Young drops back. He's going to throw to the right-hand side and throws it on the money. That's going to be a first down for the Catamounts, as that is just a nice way to drop it in the bucket. And when you can't get him off the field on a 3rd and 18, it's going to be a really bad day for you. And that's exactly what we saw right there. Johnson's going to run it up the gut, and it's now 31-3. That's going to be your score right now. They are dominating SMU here in the game of the week, and that's going to continue. Yet another interception, and it's going to be another, no, not another defensive touchdown, but you thought it was going to happen. Let's be honest here. That was extremely close to happening. I thought that we were going to see another defensive touchdown, but, you know, not meant to be, but still phenomenal field position, though. We'll see if Western Carolina can punch it in again as Young gets some time in the pocket, throws it right in the middle of all of that traffic, and still got it in there for the touchdown. 48-10 is going to be your final score, and you want to talk about making a statement in the game of the week? That's exactly how you go about doing that. So before we check out the newest polls as well as some other new weekly items, let's go ahead and check out some of the evening scores that went around the FCS. We start with Southeast Missouri State, number 6 in the country, going to the Sin City to play against UNLV, and Southeast Missouri State looking phenomenal. They win by 28 on the road to improve to 2-0 on the season. Also looking good in road action as well is Eastern Michigan, as they went to go play against the Lions of Columbia, winning by a final score of 31-14, as Eastern Michigan will be able to win their opener on the road. Speaking of impressive road wins, Southern certainly has one here, as they went to go play against the South Dakota State Jackrabbits, and Southern will improve to 2-0. A 44-10 victory will get the Jaguars off to their best start that they've had since year number 1. Rice also going on the road to play against the Tommies of St. Thomas, and the former Division III school could not hang, losing to the number 21 ranked Rice Owls by a final score of 33-14, recovering well from their loss that they suffered last week to those Southern Jaguars. However, it's not just the ranked teams that are trying to go make a statement, because for the Atlantic, they lay the lumber out on the Ohio Bobcats. FAU winning 37-6 in order to win their first game of the season. Ohio, however, suffers their first loss, falling to 1-1. San Diego State also going on the road as they take on the Wildcats of Bethune-Cookman, and the Wildcats could not pull the upset, losing by a final score of 35-22. San Diego State still remaining undefeated in regular season action. In the 3+ years that this dynasty has ran, they are still yet to lose a regular season game. Also looking good is the Temple Owls, as they went to go up against North Texas, home of the Mean Green, and they did not have that mean streak in them. Temple wins 38-10 on the road to improve to 2-0 as they try to move up from their current number 14 ranking. That being said, Utah State is also looking to do the same thing as well, as they went to go play against the Bobcats of Montana State. Montana State's going to fall to 0-2 here after a 44-17 loss. The Utah State Aggies also improved to 2-0. So it seems like the Sports Illustrated magazine is pretty on point with our thumbnail, because we see Arkansas Pine-Bluff on the thumbnail with their big win against James Madison. But all that being said, how does that affect the current top 25 polls? Well, we just got the newest AP poll release, and we're going to definitely check some things out. And we do see a little bit of movement in the top 10. North Dakota State moves up 1, but I don't know how good they really are. Western Carolina looks legit, as does Southeast Missouri State, San Diego State, and Southern, as well as Akron and Texas Southern and Kent State. They all move up exactly 1 spot. Then we see Sacramento State and Temple move up 2 spots. They're just sitting on the outside of the top 10. They're number 11 and 12. James Madison, though, drops to number 13 in the country. That 16-point loss really hurt them. They're now sitting at that 13 spot. For the second half of the AP Top 25, South Carolina State moves up 3 spots to number 14 in the country, as does the Utah State Aggies and Eastern Michigan. But one of the bigger risers of the week goes to Portland State. They move up 5 spots up to number 17 in the country. Their big win over South Dakota definitely got some notice, as did Rice, who ended up moving a few spots as well. Also moving up is Youngstown State. They move up 1 in spite of being on a bye, but Sam Houston State moves up 3 spots in spite of being on a bye week themselves. Also, other notable movements include Eastern Kentucky at 21. Their 3 touchdown loss to Nicholls State, which is actually worse than what the score says. Central Michigan takes care of business. SMU is at 23 after their big loss to Western Carolina. Montana moves up 1, and then Tennessee Martin, the Skyhawks, their 24-point win over the University of Central Florida gives them that last space in the top 25, which, here's the schools that are also receiving votes. Idaho is the only team to drop out of the top 25, but we do have teams like Sanford, Arkansas Pine-Bluff, Eastern Washington, Towson, and Southeast Louisiana all sitting there receiving votes and on the verge of making that top 25. As for the Heisman watch, as it stands, Ikeda Woods is currently sitting around, and he's still sitting at number 1, with David Ford not being able to make much of a move. He only had 19 reception yards. He only had 1 catch in that game against Arkansas Pine-Bluff. A very disappointing performance for him, but he still remains in second. Marty Subar does move up 1 spot. He did have 2 touchdowns against the Penn Quakers. Marty is now 3rd in the Heisman race. Jason Shaw comes into the top Heisman watch for the first time this season. He has over 400 all-purpose yards and 7 touchdowns on this season. He was a menace against Southern Illinois. And rounding out the group, we have Jonathan Bauer, the junior redshirt from San Diego State. He has 21 catches for 229 yards and 5 touchdowns on the young season, part of that very talented Aztecs football team. But finally, we go to the NCAA Players of the Week, and Jason Shaw, he definitely deserved that Player of the Week, man. He ends up with over 300 all-purpose yards in the game and 6 touchdowns, and that was still scoring half of the points that South Carolina State ended up getting in that 70-point blowout against the Salukis of Southern Illinois. So well deserved by the junior running back from South Carolina State. But a little bit of a surprise on the Defensive Player of the Week, though. It's going to go to sophomore linebacker Carl Stewart, representing for the Villanova Wildcats. He saw his guys win by a field goal against Omaha, and it was a solid performance. 7 tackles, had a TFL in there. Also did a little bit of everything. 2 interceptions, a forced fumble, and a touchdown, a defensive touchdown nonetheless. He was the difference between being 1-1 right now and starting the year 0-2. So with that being said, guys, that will wrap up today's episode of the FCS Dynasty here on NCAA 06. Next week, we will have 8 more games to watch out for, including multiple top 25 matchups in the FCS Dynasty that will help create some early momentum for that warpath to go to the FCS playoffs at the end of the season. But with that, I'm going to sign off. But if you enjoyed today's episode, the FCS Dynasty, make sure you go ahead and smack that like button. Hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. This is John J. Gaming on the mic signing off. But I'm hoping you're all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.